This week we will continue with the argumentation style of writing. But before we do that, let's take a look at our revising and editing practice. I wanted to be able to kind of take a step backward and talk about fragments. So in this particular editing and revising practice, I've given you a paragraph that specifically has 4 fragment sentences located within its text. And a fragment sentence is a sentence that cannot stand on its own. It either lacks a subject, it lacks a verb, or it lacks clarification of what's going on. So here the paragraph says social networks such as Facebook and MySpace appeal to college students for a variety of reasons. Social networks are a way of having conversations, staying in touch with friends without the inconvenience of getting dressed and meeting them somewhere. Friends can join or drop out of a conversation whenever they want. Social networks also allow college students to meet new people and make new friends. Members can track who is friends with whom. Students may choose to share only portions of their profiles to protect their privacy. Some students use social networks to form groups, such as clubs, study groups, or special interest groups. Other students use networks to screen dates and discover who is interested in dating or who is already taken. So as I've read this, you should have been able to pick up where you believe that fragment sentences exist. Now remember, that fragment sentence, it lacks a subject, it lacks a verb, or it's just not clear. It cannot stand on its own. So here you can see the 4 sentences that were identified that had these sentences needed to stand all by themselves, they're just not able to do so. And if you read them individually, aside from everything else before it or after it, you can be able to tell this. So inside of Blackboard, you have a specific revising and editing practice that is exactly like this. So we've come halfway together, and what I want you to be able to do is join ideas together, correct fragments using fanboys words, which is for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so, and remember to be able to put a comma before that. Sometimes you don't have to fix a fragment by using a fanboys word. Sometimes you just need to be able to have a comma and pull them together. But usually, and almost always, you have to have a fanboys word. And sometimes you just need to take the period out. So remember, if you use a fanboys word, you've got to have an independent thought before it and an independent thought after that fanboys word. For example, Miss Ortiz went to the store, comma, and she picked up groceries and candy while she was there. These are 2 independent thoughts separated by a fanboys word. So use those tips, this information, and our identification of fragments to be able to stop here, go into your Blackboard and complete your revising and editing practice, submit that activity. Last week, students, we evaluated and actually modeled a graphic organizer over the topic of reinstating the draft. Then at the very end of that lesson, students were asked to choose one of the following controversial topics in which they sent that to me. They were given a grade based off of choosing a controversial topic, and then what I sent back was a pro article, an article that was for your topic, and one that was against. So it could have been, for example, one of the topics is Walmart good or bad? And so one of the articles that I sent was Walmart is good for America, and the other article that I sent was Walmart is bad for America. And so everybody chose their own controversial topic, and so what I want you to be able to do is I want you to read those 2 topics and then go back through and take notes. Now I'm not going to give you a grade based off of those notes. This is a point where you need to be able to use notes to further your own understanding, pull main reasons. Why is your author either supporting or against the topic that you've chosen? So remember, as you're doing that, you're looking at main ideas, what's the evidence that author is using for that particular for or against topic, and the purpose. What are they trying to convince you of? You should be asking yourselves questions because predominantly people are trying to convince you of something, And so if you've already got the topic in hand, then you just need to know why are they trying to convince you of that and what reasons are they standing on. After you've done that, students are going to take their notes of both of the articles that I have given you, and you're also further going to find 2 more articles. For this particular essay, for essay 2, you're going to have a total of 4 articles. Well, I've supplied you with 2, so it's now your responsibility as a student to go find 2 more. My strongest suggestion is that you go and find 2 more articles that are on the side that you support of your argument. For example, if you chose the controversial topic that should gays and lesbians be allowed to adopt, and let's say that you, for your essay 2, for your argumentative essay, you say that you disagree that gays and lesbians should be allowed to adopt. Well, I've given you one that agrees with the topic. I've given you one that's against the topic. And if you were going to write about that you were against it, you would likely go find 2 more articles, web articles, from a credible source that are going to be against it. Remember, as you write your essay 2, and we start working on how to organize ourselves for that with your graphic organizer, you're not going to write about both sides. You're going to pick one of the sides to write about, but you need to know what is the opposing side of your argument saying. If you've ever been in an argument with someone and trying to get your way, as though any of us have ever done that, you really take in the other person's side of the argument. You're actually trying to convince them to usually let you do something, so you're trying to convince them. It's the same when you write. You cannot just totally discount, that the other side even exists. They do exist, and if you don't, as you're writing, and we'll get there, be able to acknowledge them in your argument, then you've completely forgotten about them. So again, I've given you 2 articles on your topic. One is for your topic, one's against it. There are 2 sides to the controversial topic. I'm suggesting that you go and find 2 more articles that are on the side of the argument that you choose. Again, if I had the topic of gay and lesbian couples, should they be allowed to adopt? If I said, no, I don't think that they should be allowed to adopt, then I'm going to go find 2 more articles that agree with me, and the authors are agreeing with my similar stance. The last part of this piece is after you've read my 2 articles, you've read and taken notes on your 2 articles. That's a total of 3. Most students are going to have 3 that are on one side that they agree of and 1 on the other. You're going to complete a graphic organizer. Now, we've usually done outlines in the past, especially when we did our research report on poverty, but this graphic organizer that we modeled last week and we're doing again today, this is going to be extremely helpful as you're writing your body paragraphs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put together a very crude YouTube presentation which just kind of goes through the topic of, is Walmart good or bad for America? I saw some students were struggling last week to be able to create the graphic organizer, and as you're trying to organize yourself on the topic for essay number 2, I want you to be as strong as possible. So I'm going to, within this Blackboard lesson, I'm going to attach a link that just kind of goes through and walks through, if I had these articles, how would I set up my organizer so that you have more confidence and strength as you're creating that. The graphic organizer will be turned in, and this will further be used to outline as we go into writing your introduction. So after students have submitted their completed graphic organizer, the 2 last pieces that I want you to focus on for this week is I want you to be able to write your thesis statement. Now remember, your thesis statement is your controlling idea for the entire essay. And do remember, this is an argumentative, and I want your opinion because it is your side of the argument you're choosing, but I don't want it written in first person. I don't want you writing a thesis statement that says, I agree with this, or in my essay I'm going to write about that I agree or support this. That's not what I want. If I were writing on the topic of, is Walmart good or bad for America, I would possibly have a thesis statement that would say Walmart is extremely beneficial for the United States of America because of its ability to increase economic opportunities wherever they're located. I mean, that's very crude, but it is a way to say, that sentence says, you know, the writer agrees, and this is why. You don't have to necessarily put the word I, me, or my in there to let the reader, which would be me, know that the writer agrees. All right? And as we go through your graphic organizer, we'll create main ideas. And so my suggestion is take a look at those main ideas and incorporate them into your thesis statement so that you can be able to cover all of it. And the last piece is you're going to write your introduction paragraph. Remember, your introduction paragraph is set up the same way as what we did for the last one. You have a grabber sentence. Remember, you got to pull your reader in. You got to pull them in with some type of information that makes them interested to read. Give them some background information about the controversy of your topic. You know, why is it hotly debated? Then your last sentence is going to be that thesis statement, which you should have written in the bullet point before. Now, this is a lot of activity that's going on for this week, so really please keep structured. You got the 2 articles you read from me, 2 more that you're going to locate and read. Create your graphic organizer, write a thesis statement, and then write your introduction paragraph. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to guide you as best as possible.